I'm Dean. I'm the dad.
I'm Laura. I'm the mom.
And I'm Crystalyn. I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. That was good. That worked. Didn't hook up and catch it all. I like that. Well, welcome to the show, listeners. Thanks for listening to us. If you want to help us out, a few ways you can do that. First and foremost, there's our Patreon. It's 3 different groups. There's Team Bunny, Team Podcast, and Team Electric Bill. It doesn't really matter because it all goes the same place to feed the bunny and keep the lights on. If you don't want to do a monthly thing or you can't afford to, you can certainly do a one-time donation through Buy Me a Coffee. And if you can't do that, well, if you enjoy the show, share it on social media. And if you don't enjoy it, keep it to yourself. See? Yeah, that works. Not a lot of introduction on this particular episode. On this episode, we start in America and we move throughout the world examining various myths and legends. And in each case, we're going to tell you a legend and then we're going to tell you a story about that legend. To be fair, most of these are found on Reddit, and like anything I find on Reddit, I can't verify the veracity of it, but it's at least good stories. And I have, just for complete transparency, I have altered the story just enough to make it a story rather than I went and did this, I went and did that, I went and did the other. So that it sounds like an actual story.
Fair enough.
So, that being said, though, we hope you enjoy this very special folklore-heavy episode of the Family Plot Podcast.
However, first, we have to check into
Krysta's Corner.
It's not just any corner. It's Krysta's Corner.
Hi, Krista. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing decent today. I got a 10 out of 11 on my test.
Way to go.
On my common assessment test.
Very nice. Well, you know what? It's much better than getting an 8 out of 40.
You had to bring that up, didn't you, dear?
Well, you know, it's just, I still don't understand it.
I really don't understand it, but I've been trying to move past.
Yeah, I have to, because that is kind of confusing.
So, what's going on in Krysta's Corner today?
In Krysta's Corner today, we will be talking about a game that I just started playing like a couple hours ago, because it is really fun. It is that fun. Yes.
Awesome.
I have wanted to play this game for a while, but none of my phones have been able to handle except this one. I started playing it on my computer, actually, because my brother was playing it on my phone. But this game is called Cookie Run Kingdom. I've known about it for a while, but I have not played it, like I said. It is really fun. It sort of has the same, or similar place, well, not a similar play style, but similar concept as Genshin, where it has a gacha type thing, and then there you also do other, like, you battle and stuff. Except in this one, you battle and you build houses and make a team of 6 instead of 4, as you would in Genshin.
I see.
Genshin, you only get 4 people?
In Genshin, you can only have 4 people on your team.
That's sad.
Yeah, no, it's extremely sad. Only 4 people.
I know.
And there are so many cool characters.
And in Cookie Run Kingdom, though, you get 6.
You can get 6 in Cookie Run Kingdom, yes.
And is it a racing game?
No. You just defeat the enemies.
That are cookies.
No, those are cake.
What?
Those are cake monsters. The cookies defeat the cake monsters.
I'm so confused.
And hungry.
That too.
Listen, the cake monsters are actually pretty cute. I don't know why they're...
Hey, I'm excited. I want to know more.
I want to know so much more. Tell me everything.
Well, I haven't gotten that far.
We do only have so much time in this show.
Yeah. And it's a whole topic on its own. But with the start that I've been through so far, the cookies go off, or the cookies that have been there previously, like the ones at the very beginning, go off to fight the cake monster and the dark cookie queen. And they have to go through a bunch of cake hounds to get to that queen, and then they lose all of what are called... Are you good? Are you catching on? Or are you like having a mental breakdown over there?
No, I'm just thinking the dark cookie queen, that pretty much has to be an Oreo.
Maybe.
No. She looks like Maleficent as a cookie.
Yeah, sounds like an Oreo. Hydrox are better than Oreos, but you don't even know what a Hydrox is.
I do know what a Hydrox is.
And they're not.
They are.
No.
I don't know. I've never tried them. I'm the undecided.
How do you get that they're not?
Because they're just not.
I don't know. I've never had a Hydrox.
They don't have. They're not as chocolatey. They're hard.
No. The
Cream isn't
Hydrox.
as good.
The Hydrox. The cookies are actually chocolatier. That spackle in the middle. That's not as good, but who cares? Because it's basically sugar spackle. Give me the chocolatey goodness of a Hydrox any day.
No.
Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree. So, Cookie Crumb Queen and evil cake messes, and it definitely sounds like a diabetic coma waiting to happen.
Yes, but you don't eat the cookies. And when they die, it's called crumbling.
You are so cute. You sound so much like your big sister Gwendolyn when you talk about things that you're interested in. It's so adorable. When she sounds so much like you, it's so cute.
Also, Gwen, for those who do not know, is my oldest daughter. She's an extended member of the family. She actually lives on her own with her husband and friends and a couple of kids, she
is all grown up, and she's gonna expand that family even more.
Yes, she goes to KU, I believe, tonight to be inducted.
Yeah, well, we're not. Hopefully, we'll have a baby by the time this show drops. But
yeah, hopefully
that's up to the baby and the doctors and Gwen. But either way, she is amazing, and we love her very much. And if she happens to listen to this, we're thinking of you right now. So.
Yes. If she happens to listen. So is there more about Cookie Run?
Like I said, when a cookie dies, it's not called dying, it's called crumbling.
Wah, wah.
Don't do that.
Nope, he's nicer than I was gonna be.
What was she doing? Oh. Leon! Don't be a little butthole.
Can you not say rat hole on the podcast.
She didn't say a bad word.
I don't know. I know people that think butthole is definitely a bad word.
You want me to say a-hole?
A-hole would be much better, yes.
No, it wouldn't.
I meant the actual word a-hole.
Oh, no. I thought you meant a-hole, the word she was actually saying. Yes, a-hole is better.
No, that's not what she was saying. So
Also, no, a-hole is not better.
Let's just. She said but it's fine. It's okay.
Anyway, that's about it. That's all I have to say about Cookie Run today. It may be followed up next week.
Yeah, you really get into it. And what level are you on Cookie the Run?
I'm on...
I'm mad at myself for not picking up cookies when I was at Aldi's earlier. Oh, I still have cookies in the bedroom. I'm good. Go ahead.
I think I'm on level 1 or 2.
Oh!
Because I just started playing it.
Okay, so long play then. It's a little bit of a longer play game. It's not like a quick, app, get through a level every minute or two. Okay, cool. Cool bean.
Yeah, no, this is a long playthrough. This is like a month's worth playthrough.
Awesome. What's up?
What are you doing?
It looks like Daddy's trying to tickle you. I could be wrong.
You are wrong. I'm trying to figure out why there is purple on her ankles.
Oh, she draws on herself. Is this the first time you've noticed that?
I do it to cope.
It's better than other things she could be doing.
Yeah, I guess it is. So, is that Krista's Corner for this week?
Yeah. It is.
Okay. Wait.
Yay. I get claps.
Yes, you do.
Does anybody else get claps?
No. No, not even.
They're all for you.
Did the audience actually clap for me or no?
Maybe, I don't know.
You. Isn't that enough?
Sometimes.
So this first story, this first legend we talk about is in America. It's actually near California, maybe actually in California. It's called the Queen of Death Valley, and the legend goes like this. The Timbisha Shoshone tell a story that Death Valley was not always the arid desert and hard scrabble that most of it is today. The Timbisha have lived in the valley for a long time and claim in the early days of their stewardship, a queen demanded that her people build her a palace to rival those of the Aztecs who lived to the south. So this was a while ago, because it's been a minute since there's been Aztecs living to the south.
Yeah, just a smidge. Just a little one.
Her people, who believed she ruled with the power of the divine, began to build her a castle. But it took a long time to quarry the stone, to bring it, and to shape it for the palace. They cut down nearby mesquite trees to create wooden shelves and furniture in the palace. As time wore on, the queen began to fear that she would die before her palace was completed. She insisted everyone work on the palace, including her family. She began to beat her people on the back if they slowed in the noonday heat, including her own daughter.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's like that Lillian Holmes lady or whatever from the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, that crazy witch.
Yeah, that crazy witch. Anyway, her daughter then dropped the load she was carrying and cursed her mother, the palace, and the land for good measure. Just like if we started beating Krista to get her to do the podcast better, she'd probably curse the podcast and us and maybe even the house.
Why would do what? There is no better for Krista to do the podcast. Krista is perfect just the way she is. Now, we may need to beat the other children so, they help more, but that's, I think, most parents some days feel like that.
It was then the queen realized that she had so disturbed life in the valley that her people were no longer living in joy, and neither was she. However, by then it was too late. Her people, so engaged in building her palace, had neglected the land. The crops failed, the pools in the valley dried up, and many people died or fled.
Well, sure.
To this day, many people traveling through Death Valley will see a mirage of the queen's unfinished palace.
That's very sad.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
I think if the queen wanted the work done, she should have done some herself.
Yeah.
A good queen provides for her own. Meaning she
provides
for her family and herself.
Absolutely. You're not wrong.
I know.
So here's the story that I found. Corey and Tina wandered through Death Valley. What began as a simple desert hike had become a quest to find their car. Corey knew they were nowhere near where they parked, but he couldn't seem to figure out where he'd gone wrong. Tina had tried to help, but now they were facing a canyon that they were both sure they had not been through before. As they began to walk through the canyon, a blast of wind blew through the canyon, filling the air with dust. Suddenly, through the dust, the pair could see a massive palace. While it seemed unfinished, it also seemed large and beautiful. Suddenly, the wind died down, the mirage vanished, and eventually they were able to find their car and go home.
Well, I mean, if I'm lost in Death Valley and there's been a curse put on that valley that people are, that had to do with that palace, I guess that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, that's the part that gets me, is a lot of people see mirages of the palace. Mm-hmm. And most of the people don't even know the story.
Well, yeah. Yep.
And so it makes me wonder if anybody has ever reached it and what they found there when they did.
No, I would imagine that it's probably unreachable as part of the curse, but that's just my thought on the subject.
Well, I just imagine that if you do reach it, nothing good's going to be waiting for you.
That's probably true.
I mean, it was the thing that ruined her people to some extent, so...
Yep. Well, and the daughter cursed the palace, cursed her mother, and cursed the whole land. So, I mean, it totally makes sense that it wouldn't be something wonderful even if you got to it, You're just going to become part of the curse, I would think.
Right. So, good thing Tina and Corey found their car.
Oh, yep, absolutely.
But yeah, again, found it on Reddit.
So take it with a shaker of salt.
Yeah.
All right, so the next story takes us to the Inca people. They tell a tale of a pair of shepherds, brothers who noticed their llamas kept escaping. Each day, the shepherds would go up the mountains where they would find their missing llamas and return them home. The men, concerned about their llamas, approached a village wise man. The wise men suggested the brothers release their llamas and follow them and see where the llamas lead them. Taking this advice, the llamas led the men to the same cave high on the mountain. The men began to store food and other things in the cave. In the weeks ahead, a great flood began to cover the plains, and the two shepherds led their families to the cave, which was well stocked. There the men and their families sheltered in the caves for the next 5 weeks or thereabouts as the flood covered the land. After that, the waters receded and the two brothers and their families were the only survivors. To this day, many claim to have found these caves, and outside of these caves are always reported to be a couple of llamas.
Follow the llamas! And not Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Although if I didn't have a llama, I would name him Lorenzo.
You mean if you did have a llama, you'd name him Lorenzo?
Yeah, he'd be Lorenzo Llama.
Oh, I know this isn't the same thing, but since llamas are in the desert, I want to talk about the animal project that I did. yesterday.
Cool.
Do you want to know what animal it is?
What?
On the llama?
No. It's another desert animal that is kind of
A
similar.
fennec fox?
No.
An alpaca?
Nope. Can I talk?
Sure,
Yeah.
talk.
That is kind of similar to a kangaroo and a mouse. It is called a goby jerboa.
Cool. That's those little desert gerbils that hop, right?
Yep. They can
They're
jump up to
with
3
the
meters, which
poofy-
means
with the
10
poofy
feet.
little long tails.
Yep.
They're so cute.
Mini
are.
kangaroos, essentially.
They are.
Yes, they're
but
like
they can jump up to like 10 feet and it's scary.
No, that's not scary. That's awesome.
It's kind of scary.
They're tiny but mighty.
Yeah. That's how they confuse their predators.
See, I didn't know the Incas had a flood myth. I mean, I know a lot of cultures have them, but I didn't know the Incas did.
Well, apparently they did.
So that's pretty awesome.
Sure is. Absolutely. So our story that goes along with this, of course, Dean found on Reddit as well. So the story is about someone named Steve, and Steve wiped the sweat from his brow as he climbed the trail up the mountain. The trail at this point was faint, almost unseeable. It had already led him past the mountain valley, and even the shacks of the goat tenders and shepherds had been left far behind. Suddenly, he heard a noise. A branch snapping nearby got his attention. Then he heard it, the long, drawn-out bleat of a llama. He followed the noise and found not one but 2 llamas a little further up the path, around a bush which they were looking over. Steve scampered up the path with renewed energy. He whipped around the bush to see the 2 llamas, wild but fearless, eating the bush in front of the mountain wall, vines covering the wall. He was even able to see there was a hole through the vines. Pulling out his machete, he began to cut through the vines, revealing the mouth of a cave. Inside, he saw the walls were painted, showing 2 llamas that looked very similar to the pair outside. He also saw images of goats and crops, and images of lots and lots of water. He began to take pictures of the cave paintings and the ancient utensils. Having come here by himself, he wasn't able to do much other than document the find. He checked the photos, nodded to himself, and re-emerged from the ancient cave back into the mountain air. Just as he emerged, fat, heavy drops of rain began to fall, and clouds surrounded the mountaintop in a hurry. He began to follow the path back down, marking various signs and markers so he could find his way back. A few days later, he found himself back at the university discussing the cave with his professor. His professor was well aware of Incan legends and skeptical of this cave. So Steve pulled up the pics only to discover that each of them was empty, merely black photos with no detail whatsoever. His professor told him that the discovery was meaningless and the university could not support an expedition without proof. Over the next few years, Steve went up the mountain many times, but never again found the cave or the llamas that had been in front of it.
Steve's not lucky.
Maybe if his name had been Lorenzo, it would have been a different story.
Could be.
What if I went up the mountain and found that? Would you believe me?
Sure.
Yeah, because okay, here's the thing. I don't think anybody on this planet is dumb enough to take pictures of darkness, of something that's just going to come out on your phone or your tablet is a black screen, right?
Sure you are.
And go, look, it's proof I was at this place. You know, that's a real place, especially to take it to your professor. in an academic situation.
Sure.
I don't think anybody's doing that. So I kind of, as much as it's possible for me to believe a story I found on Reddit, I kind of would believe this one. I'd believe you if you go, Dad, I found this weird cave, and look, all these. Wait, I had pictures. I would believe you because I know you, and I know you that you don't lie too often. Maybe to save your skin if you think you're going to get in trouble, but other than that, not really, not much. And so I just wouldn't. But at the same time, I'd be like, don't ever go back there ever again.
Yeah, because that's pretty dangerous.
Definitely dangerous.
Yeah, because any place like that you can find that's like almost historical or legendary like that, I think like you take a chance on being trapped there.
Fair enough.
So, before we go to England for our next story.
Yeah, I guess we probably ought to take some time for a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, very nice.
Hey, honey.
Yes, dear.
I feel sponsored.
Yay! Hey, Krista, do you feel sponsored?
Apparently not.
I also feel sponsored.
Apparently she feels like a cookie.
I'm not playing Cookie
A
Run.
cookie?
I thought she was playing Cookie Run because she's on her phone.
Oh, okay.
Playing Honkai.
You're playing what?
Honkai.
You really should make up your mind what you're doing. You confuse us.
Honkai Impact. It's a new like
Okay.
game.
Okay, so after that, we go to England.
Yes, England.
Now, in the 13th century, the people of England spoke of Robin Hood and his band of merry men. Robin, aided by such notable figures as Little John, Will Scarlet, Friar Tuck, and others, were bandits living in Nottinghamshire Forest, ambushing merchants and wares bound for Nottingham Sheriff, who had taken over the district of Nottinghamshire while King John was embarked upon the Crusades. Robin and his band of merry men attended the archery contest in disguise. Some claim stealing the prize, to which they sold and gave the money to the local peasants, giving them money for food or to pay taxes levied by the sheriff. Aided by Maid Marian, these outlaws fought the sheriff and the regent on behalf of the crown of John. Some claim Robin was in fact the Earl of Locksley. Others claim he was Robin de Ville, a student and accomplice of Simon de Montfort, a rebel who wanted to curb royal power. Others claim it was Roger Godbert, a former friend of the sheriff's who had fallen out over the sheriff's dastardly attacks on the commoners. Roger led a small revolt against the sheriff and eventually becoming a landed noble after the sheriff and his minions were defeated. Whatever the case, the story of Robin continues to delight in books, stories, comics, television, and film to this day.
Yeah.
Everybody, I'm sure, has their own favorite movie or whatever of Robin Hood. I kind of like the series Robin the Hooded Man that was on Showtime for a minute.
I didn't know that one.
It was, I thought it was
I mean, sure.
So, here's the story I found. Now, this is the only one I did not find on Reddit. I found it on a blog, someone's personal blog. Again, it is slightly edited to make it more like a story than I did this, I did that.
Sure.
Henry traveled through the forest and into a cave. He had become quite lost in the woods of Nottinghamshire and had entered the cave to get out of the downpour that had started all of a sudden.
Lots of rain this week.
Yeah, lots of it. Maybe this part of Nottinghamshire is located in South America. I don't know.
I don't know.
Could be.
I think it rains a lot in England, but I could be wrong.
You're probably right, actually. I do remember most of the time, England is rainy. Now he wandered through the dark caverns, guided only by the sounds of conversation he heard deeper in the cavern. He heard the gruff voices of men engaged in laughter and conversation. As he approached the speakers, he became aware of the firelight and could hear many voices. He could hear the voice of many speakers, though he couldn't understand the language they spoke. Soon he was just around the corner from the fire, and as he stepped around the corner, suddenly the voices just stopped, and the campfire vanished as if it had never been there, and he was left in darkness. As he struggled through the darkness, he eventually came to a small hole, which he managed to get through, only to find himself in a corridor of worked stone with several barred cells. He soon came to a gate, which he opened, and a set of stone steps. As he climbed, he found himself challenged by a Nottinghamshire constable. The constable turned on a flashlight and looked Henry over, soon satisfying himself that Henry was not an escaped criminal from the prison cells below. Henry told the constable about the voices in the firelight, and the constable said the caves were believed to have one time been used by the bandit Robin Hood, and that he and his fellow bandits often rescued prisoners from the cells from their caverns, and that Henry must have seen spectral bandits. The constable led Henry out of the Nottinghamshire jail and into the streets above, leaving Henry rescued, but very confused about his experiences.
Well then, that would definitely be confusing, though, yeah, just confusing. I can't really speak too much. With it being another country, it sounds like it was probably something that took place, like, in the actual, near the actual area where all of these things took place, so...
Yeah, okay, you're both going to say man crush, but
Josh Gates,
a couple of years ago, Josh Gates went to England to look for Robin Hood, and he went to Nottinghamshire, and he found the caves, and he found they do connect to the prison, but if this is a true story, this guy got lucky because it's not an easy find. In fact, if Josh himself hadn't been led by people, he couldn't have found his way into the prison. He would have been lost in the caverns.
Right.
Because they're massive. They're all over. And to get to the prison is a pretty circumlocutus route. Now, if Robin really used it, which he might have, they probably had it mapped pretty well. And, various markers that they could find by touch.
Well, sure, that would be what you would do, absolutely.
But yeah, Steve, on the other hand, if this is real, Steve got lucky because Josh is like, he specifically said, don't go in the caves looking for the entrance because chances are you won't find it.
Right. All right. Well, from England, we look at a legend of Germany. German legends tell of Lorelei, or Lore of the High Rock. Lore was a nymph who lived on a rock near the Rhine River. The nymph often sat...
Wait. So is this a rock and Rhine story? That's so funny. Sorry.
Have you been sitting on that one for a minute, babe?
No, but it just occurred to me when... Okay, we can find it.
The nymph often sat upon her high rock to sing forlornly about her lack of love.
Like you do.
Like you do. Men who would hear her singing would often float down the Rhine to find the singer, only to die going over the nearby falls. Victims of Lorelei's tragic song. Skeptics point to the murmuring sound the nearby falls make, which can sound like a distant person talking or perhaps singing, which would lead someone looking for the source of this sound to plummet over the falls to their death. Wow. Well,
and see, Lorelei might actually be a Marvel villain. There is a character in the Thor comics, a student of the Enchantress named Lorelei, and they have made reference to she is a nymph. So Marvel might have stolen this character, but I don't know. There may also have actually been a Norse Lorelei. I didn't look it up. I should have. I didn't.
You should have. All right. That's okay, though. All right. So our story that goes along with that is Linda was an EMT riding with her partner, Helmut. Dispatch had said that a tourist had fallen over the waterfall on the nearby Rhine River. Helmut had barreled the ambulance down the motorway, turning off onto a side street, down the street, and into a parking area. They grabbed a gurney and their gear and pushed down a trail to the pool where the falls emptied. There, they found a man cradling the head of his friend who was still in the water, bloody from the fall over the falls. Linda plunged into the water, gently taking over care of the injured man. As she began to do a quick and rough examination, she could hear the patient babbling about the woman he had followed, the singing woman, and how he had listened to her and stared at her, and the next thing he knew, he was falling. Suddenly, Linda could hear a voice singing. Looking up towards the falls, near the tip, she saw a face of a beautiful, short-haired woman with green eyes staring down at the injured man. And as Linda stared, the woman simply vanished. Linda returned to caring for the patient, and with Helmut's help, she got him out of the pool. During the trip to the hospital, the patient passed from his injuries. Linda would never forget him or the woman she saw at the falls. Well,
yeah, we call that negative patient care outcome.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to describe it.
Wow. So, Krysta, what do you think?
I think that sounds a little bit scary, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Blood and waterfall put together is...
Well, I'm sure he was bleeding because he fell over the waterfall.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
Head injury.
Yeah.
Seemed more like a siren thing than a nymph to me, but I'm just...
It depends on the part of the world you were in.
I guess.
Nymphs in many parts of the world have that same quality as sirens.
Sure.
That ability to sing. Wow, it just... again, got it off Reddit, so I can't swear to it, but boy, just something about this is a little off. Although, honey, I do have to say, you can do a quick and rough examination of me later if you want.
Okay, and you gave her a hard time about saying butthole on the podcast.
I didn't say anything.
Dad,
negative.
Don't say any other words, or I will kick you in the leg.
Okay. How about instead I take this boat to China?
Okay, let's go to China.
Fine. Weird.
Now, in China, we're going to talk about the legend of Lung Mo, which is a horrible name. Let's just get that out right there.
Really bad name.
It sounds like the sort of name you'd find in a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Hey, worse than that even.
So here's the legend. When she was a single woman who went to the Yellow River to get water. There she found...
I'm just going to say right there, this story is starting off rough. Why would you get water intentionally from a Yellow River? That sounds like a bad idea all the way around.
Well, I think it's just the name of the river rather than a description of the color of the water.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know for sure.
Exactly.
While she was getting water, she found 5 baby snakes. Seeing no adult snake around to care for the babies, she took them home to care for them and raise them if she could. As the snakes began to grow, she soon realized they were not snakes, but were in fact dragons.
Well, that's kind of cool.
She continued to tend them and to care for them. As the dragons grew, they made sure there was water for her crops, or if there was too much water, they dried out the ground. Then the village elder came to Wen to tell her there was a great drought. He begged her to use her dragons to help. The dragons did, and the people dubbed her Lung Mo, or the Mother of Dragons, which is a much better name than Lung Mo.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the fullness of time, when she died, her dragons conveyed her body to the heavens, where she became Lung Mo, a deity called the Mother of Dragons.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, other than the whole Lung Mo thing.
Well, and the Yellow River thing.
Yeah, okay. Krista, do you want us to start calling you Lung Mo?
No, I'm good.
Sure?
Yeah.
You want to go to the Yellow River in China
Sure.
and look for baby snakes?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the story that goes with it. Min, M-I-N, Min hated her chores and always put them off. Thus, it was late in the day when Min went to the river to fill the great pitcher with water for her family. She hated this job because once the pitcher was full of water, it was so heavy and hard to carry home. So she began to fill the pitchers, the sky grew dark, and rain began to fall. More rain in this episode. This is a very wet episode.
It is a super wet episode. Drippy, too.
Yes,
Very
yes.
drippy.
Now she would have to lug the heavy pitcher back to the house in the rain. She was going to get soaked. She began to pull the pitcher out of the river, but the rain gripped slicked grass, and the pitcher was too heavy. Oh, sorry. But the rain slicked the grass, and the pitcher was too heavy. She slipped and fell into the water. The pitcher and Min flew down the river at a healthy clip. She clung to the pitcher as she flowed downstream. She hit a large rock that was in the stream and managed to climb onto it. She noticed several other rocks in a line leading to the shore. Carefully, Min clambered from rock to rock until she and the pitcher were on the shore. As she lifted the pitcher to carry it home, she saw the rocks begin to move. A dragon, whose back made up the rocks, flew out of the river and up to a high hill where she saw the silhouette of an old woman and 4 other dragons. Min never dawdled over her chores again.
Like, yeah, I mean, if you know that there's dragons out there, you're not going to be fiddling around.
Yep. And this is where I have to point out that yet another person is going to get a water out of the Yellow River. I don't know that this is a good plan.
I'm saying, but...
Especially as we know there are dragons around there somewhere.
Yeah, that's why the water's yellow, I'm telling you.
So people are drinking dragon pee.
That's right. Ew. That's how the dragons made sure that there wasn't a drought. They piddled all over everything. No drought, no problem.
You want some dragon pee, Krista?
No.
It's probably magical, like unicorn poop's supposed to be like rainbow colored sugar.
No.
So dragon pee's probably beautiful crystal clear water.
No.
Or the Yellow River, whichever. Anyway, so we'll hang out. We'll hang out in Japan next.
Yep. You get to take us to Japan.
We're gonna talk about the legend of Hanako-san.
Hanako?
Sound fair? So according to this legend, and I apologize if I'm butchering it, family, friends, you can definitely let us know. Hanako died of, trigger warning, died of taking their own life, which is never okay, in a bathroom, or died in a bathroom during World War II. The legend has been told both ways. The way it works is you go to any third floor women's restroom and go to the third stall. You knock 3 times at the stall door and ask, "Are you there, Hanako-san?" If you hear any noise at all, flee, because if the door opens and she drags you in, you will never be seen again. If you hear nothing, you are safe. So this is one of those, this is more of a, what do we call those?
Urban legend.
Like an urban legend instead of necessarily just a regular legend.
However, I will say I did talk to Keiko about this, and she responded today. And she says the character's name in Japanese is Hanako-san of the toilet.
Hanako-san,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, Hanako-san. Of the toilet. And she basically says it's like a Japanese Bloody Mary kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what that sounds like.
That's how I've heard it being explained, yeah.
But she also says that there are a number of people who have gone missing in women's restrooms in Japan. Now, she also says there's a flourishing trade of criminals that may explain it, but...
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Alrighty, good to know, good to know. So our story that goes along with that is that Emmy stood in the bathroom and stared at the stall door. It was the third stall door. She didn't want to play this game. She hated dark games like this, but May had dared her to go into the bathroom in the third floor of the dorm and do this. So she was doing it. Winding up her courage, Emmy knocked on the third stall door and whispered, "Hanako-san, are you there?" For a moment, she heard a strange buzzing from within the stall and saw a fly leave the stall and go to the ceiling. Emmy shrugged, went to the sink and washed her hands. She turned around when she was done and saw the third door was now open, though the stall was empty. She shook her head and walked over to close the bathroom door when suddenly something reached out from the stall and pulled her inside and slammed the door behind her. Sometime later, May entered the bathroom looking for Emmy. She had been gone at least an hour now, but Emmy had not returned. The door to the third stall was open and a dead fly laid on the toilet. And that was all. Eventually, May would report Emmy's disappearance to the police, but no one ever would ever see Emmy again. That sounds totally made up. I'm just saying. That one specifically sounds totally made up.
I'm sure she's real. That story, though, sounds like a bit of a...
Yeah. I mean, the urban legend is what it is, but that specific story sounds like BS. I'm just saying.
Yeah, see, and that was the thing to me is the characters' names are Mai, M-E-I, and Emi, or maybe Emmy, I'm not sure, E-M-I. So it's like the names just weird. Now, I looked up the names, and they are both Japanese female names.
Well, sure.
But just... It's a weird coincidence, and it bugged me reading the story, but it was the only one I found. Now, Keiko again said that if I read Japanese, there's probably a lot more I could find. Obviously, I can't read Japanese.
Right.
I don't know kanji at all, other than the sign for monkey, and I think that's Chinese kanji, not Japanese. But
yeah, there's different types of kanji.
Anyway, so yeah, that just I just don't know a lot about it. But those are the 6 stories. There's 6 legends I found. Any thoughts, Krysta, on any of them?
Not really. I mean, they all seem self-explanatory. Like, I think maybe... I don't want to say any of them are fake. I believe in all of them, just some of the people I don't believe in.
So you believe in the legend, but not necessarily the stories afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's probably fair.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, specifically this one, just like I said, I already have said that it's just, but I I mean, urban legends kind of tend to do that, though, and especially different areas. I mean, we've talked about before that, I'm sure that there are always those stories that are in local lore and local areas that we don't necessarily know. So there's probably a lot more out there than this, that of course, if we were there locally, we might know a little bit more about. But
Hey, Krysta, your school has 3 floors, doesn't it?
No.
But Truman does.
No, I don't think so.
yes,
It does? Oh, yeah, it does.
So when you go to Truman next year, you could go up to the 3rd floor girls' bathroom, knock on the 3rd stall, and ask Hanako-san if she's there.
Nope, I'm good.
how about no?
I'm good, unless you don't want me to come home one day. Because
How about my baby doesn't do that?
Just saying.
How about my baby doesn't take chances with her life because I love her and I don't want anything to happen to her.
Well, I don't want anything to happen to her.
Let's not tempt fate, Daddy, shall we?
I don't know. Of these legends, I kind of like the Hanako-san one the best. I like the story afterwards the least.
Yeah, yeah.
see, I've already heard about the Hanako-san one. So.
The others seem much more plausible to me. This last one was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, supposedly it was written by someone who knew both Emi and Mai. Or Mai, I'm not sure. But you know, now we're literally dealing with a friend of a friend story, and that is an alternate name for an urban legend. So it's just like, I don't know. It just I'm not as thrilled with that story. But Hanako-san is probably my favorite legend here, with the possible exception of Robin Hood, just because
it's Robin Hood.
Yeah,
Sure.
you know, and
like you do.
Yeah, well, you know, Robin Hood is the mythical father of both Hawkeye and Green Arrow, kinda. So,
sure.
You know, I mean, it's just, how can you not love Robin Hood? So, you know, but I don't know. Krysta, do you have a favorite among them?
Probably the dragon one.
Lungmo?
Yeah,
except for the name. But we may be butchering the pronunciation. Yeah, we're probably butchering the pronunciation. Well, they're all definitely interesting. I just, you know, I like learning about things with you.
Do you have a favorite of the legends? Not the stories afterwards, just the initial legends.
I mean, I like the llama legend. I think that's a good legend, that the llamas took their family, showed them a safe place to hide, and that they got the idea to go and store stuff there, and then that saved their family. I think that was kind of a...
I kind of like it too, but at the same... See, I wish I was more of a biblical scholar. I just don't know enough about...
It feels very similar to Noah's Ark. That was what I thought too. It feels very like...
Yeah, and I just don't know. Did he have a brother that was with him on the Ark? Was that...
Yeah, his family. Well, I think it was him and his wife, and then their children and their children's families, or something along those lines. But yeah, they took. Mm-hmm.
So it makes me wonder if this is an Incan take on Noah, or if there was more than one family survivor in different areas, which could be. I mean...
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting... And that's kind of what I thought, too. It seemed like it might be kind of along those same lines.
So, yeah, that's But yeah, for me, I mean, Robin Hood, dun-da-da, I like to buckle my swashes tightly, and I'm a fan of Robin Hood.
Sure.
But yeah, Hanako-san, that one's kind of interesting just because it's creepy. But it's not as openly creepy as the slit-faced girl or,
I remember her.
Some of the other Japanese legends I've seen.
The fact is, there's literally no way of getting away from her. You just gotta run.
Yeah.
Anything that I've got to get away from by running, I'm gonna die.
Exactly.
I'm
sorry.
I'm be like, dude, you're just gonna. I mean, if I'm gonna go down here, we gotta just say.
Listen, I'd rather die than lose all that breath over nothing.
That's right.
Catch me anyway.
It isn't gonna happen. So if you got to take me, take me. It's all good. Do me a favor, make it look like an accident, or make it look like somebody killed me, so that my family can get that double indemnity we all get.
Well, see, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about that one is that girl is like. One of the questions she asks you is, am I beautiful? And she's the ghost woman who had her mouth slit open, like, so that...
You're going to confuse her and be like, am I beautiful?
No, I'd be like, absolutely, you're gorgeous.
No, because then she's going to cut slits into your face, too.
And then tell you that now you're just as beautiful as she is.
Oh, see, I don't remember the story. Okay. Hey, I think that's the end of our show.
That is pretty much the end of our show, yes.
I want to give a shout out to any of my class this week that might be listening. So,
hi class,
if you're listening. We talked about our podcast at work today. I have some true crime and paranormal fans in my class, and actually one of my learners gave me a couple of ideas that I need to talk to you about later for shows. So
cool.
That was pretty cool. So just in case any of my learners decide to listen, I want to give them a shout out.
Cool. If you like true crime, you should give it a listen to the show from last week. Did you tell them about Ken Rex McElroy?
I didn't tell them too much. I was at work, and I've got to be, work appropriate at work. But I was telling them about Mr. Swope because I thought that it was really interesting.
Yeah, Mr. Swope is that's a super interesting story. In fact, we were at the zoo.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I was saying we were at the zoo and that we spent some time talking about that. One of my learners in my class had done a report on Mr. Swope several years ago when they were in school, and they brought that up, and I thought that was really interesting because I hadn't come across a lot of people who had spent a lot of time learning about Mr.
I was amazed to find it because, it's a name that's all over Kansas City, but you don't really...
We don't talk about it. We don't talk about that history very much, so yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that is the end of our show. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks to Bill Barrett. He did our theme song. Thank you, Bill. And if you need a theme song, or if you need someone to play a wedding or a party or anything like that, Bill's your guy. You can reach him at Bill Barrett, BEHRENDT, at sbcglobal.net. That's the fastest way to reach him, and he will respond quickly and give you prices, and he'll be happy to work with you. Also want to thank Paige Elmore from Reverie True Crime. If you're looking for a true crime podcast, Reverie True Crime is an excellent one. Love Paige, but she also is a Canva addict, and between her and our Krysta, they did our logo art. Thank you, Krysta. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Also, thanks to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who continues to promote us locally. Join us next week as we and special guest author Dan B. Fierce look into the legend of the Piazza bird.
Yay, Piazza bird.
Yay, whatever that is. Yay, Dan B. Fierce.
Yay, Uncle Danny's coming over.
Bye.
Bye.